Hello friends, welcome to this most in-depth course on the Agentic AI. And if you haven't watched my previous videos, I request you to watch them because it will make more sense if you watch them. And if you, and in this video, actually, I'm going to talk about the MCP server usage. In the previous video, we have studied like what is an MCP, what is an MCP server, what is my MCP protocol, and how we use it in the Agentic AI, how we connect to MCP. We just did the theory part and we tried to understand that it can also be possible that you can connect to the different client providers of the MCP. So you can see on my screen that GitHub MCP page where actually lots of third-party MCP server providers are there. For example, Marketdown, NetData, Context, Chrome, Playwright, GitHub. So the thing is that until now we have been using tools on our local environment. So we create an agent and we call the tools which are defined locally as functions, right? But now it's the time to move one step ahead and start using the MCP tools that are provided by the third party and you call them locally. So what's happened is that it's like an API call. It's not exactly an API call, but it is similar to that. For example, if you have worked with the Spring Boot or REST services, or if you have used OpenAI like tools, or just simply an HTTPS request response thing. So this thing also exists on remote servers. So MCP servers, these third party client providers, you connect to them through URL, or you one way to connect to them is through their HTTPS URL with the authentication token. And there are other several ways also. You can install them locally, run them in Docker, depending upon which third party provider use which type of steps or system to run it, right? So in this video actually I'm going to talk about the GitHub MCP server. And this GitHub MCP server is we are going to use, we are going to connect to it, and we are just going to ask questions on our public repository. So this is a very critical use case in the organizations where you are day to day working on the GitHub projects. You are committing, you are raising PRs, you are raising bugs and all that. Now with the agents, actually it's becoming more and more efficient and more automated. And we will see how we can connect to our agent to GitHub repository, and our agent could answer the questions about any public repository or any repository who you have access to. So first step in this regard is basically to create the PAT token. And you can know more about the how to generate this token or how to create the account on GitHub in other videos, but I'm just going to quickly walk through how to create a token if you already have an account. So suppose you have an account, you go to the overview page and you just go to settings, and then you just go to credentials, and then you access this option, fine grained personal access token. I will generate a new token. I will use demo MCP token. Okay, and what I will do, I will keep the expiry 7 days. Probably I will delete after the demo. Public repository, read only access to public repository. So I'm just keeping it as default, so it grant me public access to public read only access to public repository, and I'm not adding any other permissions necessary for your needs. No permission added yet. I'm just checking what I can, if I can see something related to MCP. Okay, let's stick to this this permission only, but if in case I feel authentication issue, I may have to add more permissions. Let's just generate this token. So this token is generated and I will copy and keep it safe. So you can generate this token on your own. Okay, So next step with this demo is to install the packages. Let me install the packages for Anthropic that could install the MCP client. An MCP client is basically required to make an MCP connection to the MCP server. So in this case, our MCP server is GitHub remote server. So let's install. Okay, package is installed. Let's clear it. So friends, after installing the Anthropic package, let's try to use it. And but even before using it in a script, let's try to read some of the use cases. So this is the GitHub MCP server that we are going to use, and I hope you are it making sense that we are connecting now to a remote GitHub MCP server, which is a third party MCP server provider. And this application basically calls tools, and all of these tools are not written by us. These tools are already provided by the GitHub platform. So what these tools are capable of, they are capable of repository management. Like, you can browse, query code, search files, analyze commits. You can issue PR automation. So you can with the help of your agent, you can triage bugs, review code changes, maintain project boards. CI/CD workflow intelligence, monitor GitHub actions, workflow runs, analyze, build failures, manage releases. So code analysis, team collaboration. So friends, the use cases are very vast, and they are increasing. So these things, all of these capabilities let you automate a lot of things. Think of this like a simple use case. You are developing something, and you are pushing, you just give a prompt to an agent that you want to add this capability to your code base repo. The next time agent will just get all the files, read them, and try to it will raise a PR automatically. And maybe it has a capability, if it you are running some build, if it fails, due to some reason, it can detect that reason and maybe raise a PR to fix that build, right? So there could be n number of cases that you can automate by using, and it's just a start. So agents are really moving very fast with these MCP tool capabilities. And in this demo, actually, I'm just going to configure that only. So you remember, we have already created a pad token, and we have already installed the Anthropic. Now we will directly just jump to the code. So let me go to the code section. So mcp git.py, this is the same code, exactly same code that we have used in previous section, with very little modifications. So this file may seem little complex to you if you have directly jumped on this video, but if you watched my previous 2 or 3 demos, then this will just be a cakewalk, because the code remains same. I'm only just changing a very tiny section of this code, and that is, instead of using the inbuilt functions that we used to have earlier, that we used to load into the context when we used to call LLM, our cloud. But this time we are actually invoking a remote MCP server. We are invoking actual tools on the remote MCP server. So this is very important and critical, because in the real world, in the enterprise world, where applications are built in real time in production, this is the way that the communication happens with the MCP server, right? Because they are not they are majority of times not using internal tools. They are using a lot of external MCP servers. So As I have already told you, the basic step, only these steps, if you are using Python, only this is required. You just need to install this, and then you have to export the Anthropic API key, and then you have to export the GitHub pad token. So GitHub pad token we just generated, and I have already exported it. Now all you have to do is just run this Python script. Now what does this script do is, so you have the GitHub MCP URL. This is the URL that you are connecting to. So understand friend, this is very normal. You need something from GitHub so that you can make a connection. So this is the URL to which you are connecting. And how you are connecting? You are authenticating by using GitHub pad token. So whatever access that your token has, the GitHub MCP server can use tools in that respect, like based on your access or security or role privileges. So I'm using this model. You can change the model. Steps is again the same that we have been using since older demos. Now target, this is important. So for example, just for this sample purpose, I am using this owner, that is model context protocol, the project, and this is the repo I am picking up. So I'm just picking up this model context protocol only because we are just creating video on it, so it makes more sense to pick up something relatable, and that's the goal. So question is, for GitHub repo, this, that is the owner, list 3 most recently updated open issues with their numbers and titles, and say in one sentence what the repo is for. So you understand what this is, the goal that I am trying to do. So I am just going to open this repo. So I am asking GitHub to open this repo, list the most recent updated issues. So issues could be bugs or any request, but generally it's a bug that people have reported on GitHub for this repo, and with their numbers and titles. So all of these issues has their numbers, unique numbers and titles. And then in one sentence, just tell me a bit about this repo. So this is the very generic and request for any public repository, right? You want to see what are issues open, or maybe whatever you want to see, you can change this question and see. So again, Anthropic client, we are creating MCP tools to Anthropic. So this is the section where, basically we are converting the response from the MCP tool. So what happens is, you understand, initially in our previous demo, we used to load the metadata of the tools, so that we can tell the metadata of the tools to, we can send this metadata to the LLM, so that LLM knows that these are the tools that are available. In this case, we will get this metadata directly from GitHub, and when we get this data, we will just convert this into a JSON, so that we can send it to Anthropic and tell that, okay, this is the tool capability we have that we get from GitHub, right? So this is the result section, like whatever this method we basically invoke when we get the results from the GitHub, and they will just convert the results back to something that is readable. Now that's the main function, that is run agent, that is doing all of the work. And this is again nothing new, it is 90% what we did in the previous demo. So again, we are just client.listen to, what we are getting inside this agent is client. And what is this client? This client is basically a session or a pipeline that we have opened with GitHub. So remember that now this time we are making a remote connection to the MCP server, GitHub MCP, and this is the client that maintains that connection. And over this client pipeline or this session only, we will just invoke all the tools that we need to invoke on the GitHub side. For example, a simple tool is like listing a repository, right? So it will just give the list of all the tools, and I'm just printing like what all the tools are returned by the GitHub MCP server. Then what we did is they have lots of tools, but yeah, I'm printing some of them. Then what we are doing is, then we are just converting these tools back to so that we can have a metadata retained, and we can send this metadata to LLM. Then we are just appending all the question, the main question, the goal of this agent needs to resolve into the messages. Then again that same loop that has maximum limit of some steps, and now it is actually calling the LLM API with this request. So so this is the goal that we have sent to LLM for analysis. Now LLM send us response back. Now we just say that it requires some tool use, because we have sent the Anthropic tools list to it. And tools list, and it's not Anthropic, it's like GitHub tools. And from this GitHub tools, and the LLM will suggest which tool to call next based to resolve our goal, to answer back our goal question. Now in a loop we are again just one by one uh, calling the GitHub tools. So this is the, remember, this is the client. This client we are getting, we have created. I will tell more about this client. Now this client will basically call the tool on the GitHub side. This is very important, friends. This time we are not invoking any method locally. The GitHub MCP server is doing everything for us, sitting remotely. So this is the block name, method name, and this is the schema, that is the input that we give to these methods. Then we just parse the results. We just load these results into the tool results, and then we append these results into the messages. And messages is something that is looped again, and then we again create the call to LLM, that now we have got the results from GitHub. Now again we send it to observe. So remember, this loop is the crux of the agent. This is something that we are throwing the question to LLM, then LLM is suggesting what tools to call, we call, act upon them, get the results back, we observe again, and then see whether our goal is reached or not. If it is not reached, we work upon further suggestions, call more tools. If it is reached, then that's the end of loop, right? And this is the main method. We have just loaded GitHub pad token. Now we are just creating an HTTP request. We are loading the token into the request, right? And then we are creating a session with a GitHub MCP URL. So it's a very simple streamable HTTP client. It's a kind of pipeline that we have initiated with MCP for the request and response. And with this client session only, we call the run agent, and this session is basically used to call the tools, to invoke the GitHub tools. So this is very simple and very small or crisp script to show this demo. Now let's just quickly run this and see if it's able to provide us what we wanted. So I will just run it. Connected to MCP server. It has given us lots of tools, 27 tools it has given us. Great. So you see what it has returned. First it gives us some tools like git commit, git file contents, git label, latest release, right, get release by tag, get team members. So it is giving us these tools, and with these tools you can understand that we can invoke all these operations. Now based on our goal, what it did, it listed issues, right? We asked for issues, 3 latest issues. So it is using the owner, that is model context protocol. This is the repo. State is open, order by updated at, direction decreasing order, per page result 3, because we asked for 3 results. Now observe, like for example, it responded with the issues. So this is the issue name. I have trimmed the results but yeah, this is the results, and again it is also reading the md readme.md. So if you know you have created project on any repo on the GitHub, it has a readme file associated with it. We asked to summarize the project, so that's why it is getting the contents of the readme file. So I hope it is making sense, the steps that it is taking. It is exactly in accordance to our goal. Now observe download file. It is downloading this file, analyzing it maybe, and then recently updated open issues. This is the final answer it is giving. It is giving me 3 issues. First issue is this: import error on startup. Someone must have raised this issue. Second, bring all servers to 90% file coverage rate. And third is link to community directories. About the repo, right? It is telling what is the repo is all about. It's a collection of reference implementations, servers for model context protocol, which lets AI applications securely connect to external data sources and tools. So you see, it has exactly served our purpose. Let's verify whether these 3 issues exist on this repo, right? So for this, let me just minimize that, and I will just open this repo. So I have already opened this in a separate tab. So this is model context. This is the model context owner repositories. I will search the name servers. So servers is the repo that we are going to use, that we have used. Go to issues. This is the issues, and this is the list of issues that are open, but we asked for the recent one, so I will just use this query that I have already pasted, that is updated them in the descending order. So you can easily see it is listing all the 3 recent issues. So let me just, for comparison purpose, so if you see import on startup with MCP SDK, import on startup, bring all servers to 90% per file coverage, bring all servers to 90% per file coverage, and third is link to community directories, and it is exact query that I have used in here. So you see, I mean, this is the power of this MCP GitHub server. And if you are into the industry, working as a developer or at whatever level, this is going to help you a lot, because this is the future. This is the way agents will be connecting to GitHub, and they are using this a lot for lots of use cases. You can think of raising a PR, raising a issue itself, analyzing the issues raised by the people, and maybe even automating something that code and try to fix the issues automatically. So this is so fast. So friends, this is all about this video. I hope you have enjoyed this. Thank you.